Darksiders Genesis was released in 2019 and is from an American developer under the name of Airship Syndicate. It was published by THQ Nordic. We just had Wreckfest. Those guys know a good game when they see one. My name is Couch Coop and I review single player and local co-op video games. I have just been recently looking at the Diablo 4 new season on a local co-op level, and it prompted me to go back to this with a mate because the memories were strong. It has dawned on me before that this game is doing a lot that other local co-op ARPGs don't, and it also has some passive PS5 boosts, only giving us 30 frames per second but 1440p. The Pro version did suffer a few frame drops and a bit of screen tear, but this on the 5 is pristine.
I hereby sentence you to death.
I was also like, I recognise a few of these voices. Sure enough, Troy Baker's up there, but he's not the main character. Strife is played by a different actor, and we've got horror royalty in here. Yes, Keith David from The Thing and They Live, and even Nope quite recently. The man is kind of godlike in my eyes. So cool to see him snuck in to this game. Let's talk about the differences with this game against other popular ARPGs. You heard me talking about Diablo, there's even Chaos Bane out there, Children of Morta to a certain extent. On the face of it, in the single player, there's nothing to the untrained eye that looks too different. But unlike Diablo, this is not a point and clicker. This feels like a symmetric hack and slash. If you're playing as War because you don't have a projectile weapon, you do have some specials that have got a bit of reach on them, but it's Strife that's interesting to me because that's a full-blown twin stick setup. Now when you play on single player, you get to switch them out when you want to, and it sort of ramps the difficulty to accommodate for this. It is a workable system, but it's not my preferred method to play the game. The local co-op, and get this, split screen. That is, for me, the most enjoyable mode. One of the issues with those aforementioned ARPGs is that the screen isn't split and you're actually having to exist within a singular view. Sometimes the camera can pan in and out and give you a bit of space, but you are not autonomous. It feels like you're joined at the hip, and it affects things when stuff gets busy. It is such a baked-in thing with ARPGs like this on a local co-op level that getting the split screen and that freedom to do what you want and not worry about pulling the other person off screen does actually take some getting used to. And back to the melee character War, they actually have a guard and loads of upgradable moves, almost like a little mini Bayonetta. There's like an L1 hotkey that opens up all of these slottable massive moves that are incorporated into the core system, which we will get to. This is not a flat landscape when it comes to upgrading your character or exploring really cool moves. Also, having a block and a jump as a character within a symmetric like this is truly unique. This is just me getting the other player in. Now that's something else that is also quite individual to this game's system, is that you have to get to an actual tower to pull in your second player. It's not like you roll in from the gate together. They can leave when they want, but I thought that was interesting. I had to find a stone to actually get Lewis in to be able to do some of this level. That was a bit of meta in itself. You are also quite committed to what character you choose. Prefer that twin stick, range, quick maneuverability setup to the big brutish sword swinging war character, then you need to have that chat first. The game also exists entirely within the Darksiders lore to a certain extent, giving you returning characters like the vendors and some of those enemies and backdrops. It's all quite familiar feeling, but also really good looking. The guys that made those Darksiders third-person ARPGs, so slick with the design. They're beautiful games still. One of the more major aspects that it does align with when it comes to symmetric ARPGs like this is no lock-on. So you can't focus on an enemy. It's all about swinging that sword in the right direction or focusing your fire to a targeted enemy. A lot of the specials there to deal with crowd control, and the game does not hold back with shoving loads of stuff at you. And when we were on base level PS4 and Pro, things would get a little bit sketchy on performance. Having this on the 5 and that reassured locked 30 frames per second and that lovely high resolution and no screen tear is seriously cool. I would have loved to have seen 60. I'm pretty sure that 9th generation system can handle running this at 4K and 60 frames. We can't have it all. So the enemies will drop cores and you're basically farming them to pump into a massive table to upgrade your abilities and make yourself more powerful. Different enemies give different cores and they produce different attack patterns and powers. The system is well deep and really surprising, and as a single player ARPG that's addictive enough, just exploring all of the stuff that they drop and how you can integrate that into your own setup.
You know, if Lucifer is as dangerous as the council says he is, why'd they send just the two of us?
Death and fury attend to other matters.
It's not my place to question your wardrobe.
So back to the jumping and the control system. This has opened the door for the devs to give you ludicrously massive, difficult, chasmous gap-filled puzzles everywhere. Switches, you both got to get involved on a local co-op level. I was very surprised at how well this campaign is tailored around that setup. Everything kind of involves both of you and communication, and you will not get anywhere if you're no good at platforming or double jumping or keeping that X button down as you glide onto a tiny little platform. There's quite a lot of laughs to be had in these areas. Back to that character differential thing briefly. War has got 2 projectile weapons and Strife has also got loads of close quarter options, so there's a sprinkling of either one in them both. They've also got identical jump and double jump capabilities. Also goes for a massive dash that both of them have, which makes you feel quite cool in the old ultra violence. There's really not too much wrong with this game. One thing you may notice is its depth of field issues on the cutscenes when you kill stuff. And when you first play this game you're like, oh, I don't want to go into a circle prompted animation every time I have to kill a grunt. That's actually there to produce a tiny bit of health. It's a little bit like the Doom system when you go for a different move to extract something from the enemy. So I'd like to see a few more cosmetic choices on those guns and of course that sword. You do get some skin loadouts and different things to slot in, but the characters are quite small, so that one's not a huge gripe. I think I'm playing too much Monster Hunter Wilds. Its map and quest system is also worth talking about, being really sneaky with showing where you actually are on these colossal levels and putting in different sub and side quests. There's a bit of an emphasis on going back to older levels, maybe to farm a cool core, fight a boss again, or do something you didn't even discover when you first went through that level. The puzzles I do struggle with a bit though, but whenever I'm caught up in this game, I always think back to maybe being in a Diablo 4 dungeon and just getting pushed down the same corridor, going through the same unlocked door and just fighting these same groups. Are you with me? This is a full-blown twisty adventure, having you doing all manner of crazy stuff and fighting really huge monstrous demonic creatures. I'm not saying Diablo doesn't do that. There's just a lot more reactionary based punishment, close quarters, almost hack and slash feeling button play going on with this game that you don't ever see in titles of this genre. The Wonderful 101, which was mentioned again in that Diablo review, is something else that has this level of complication, but again it is not split screen.
Run if you can!
I'm not sure if this game sold too well against what it costs to make, but it's been 6 years. There is small murmurings of a sequel, but that was a while ago. Airship, I don't hear too much from, so that's why I wanted to put this together, to just sort of remind everybody that there's a very precious gem back there in 2019 on a local co-op ARPG level. 2018 and 2019 are two of the strongest years, I think, for 8th gen. And the PS3 operating system just got an update, can you believe? That is some amazing stuff. Darksiders also made my top 25 local co-op games of all time playlist/video, which I will link. You guys have probably seen that. I wanted to give it a fresh standalone look for 2025 and on the PlayStation 5. I was, of course, Couch Coop, and I will be seeing you down there shortly. We've got Split Fiction coming up, probably even got your hands on it already. Cheers for that, Yusuf. And I'm playing Rogue Trader, the turn-based 40k game, and I'm loving it. I have a lot of turn-based 40k games on my system, so I'm going to look into placing that in the great hierarchy.
Finished!